Oh, the magpie brings us tidings of news both fair and foul. She's more cunning than the raven, more wise than any owl.
Hello lovelies, today I want to talk to you about Fiddler's Green, the Peculiar Parish Magazine made by Clint Marsh, who, owner and proprietor Clint Marsh. I mean, he sent me a bunch of Fiddler's Green related material for my birthday and early Christmas, which was very nice of him. And I should disclose that at some point in the future they want to do some video work with me, like a promo or something, I think. It's not gaming stuff, and this isn't really a review. It's more like, here's a cool thing, maybe you should go and get some. I guess. Fiddler's Green itself is the name of a sort of sailor's afterlife of perpetual merriment, a fiddle that never stops playing, which sounds like it would actually get quite annoying after a while, and dancers who never tire. It's kind of the opposite of Davy Jones' Locker in maritime folklore. So it was meant to be a kind of afterlife for sailors who'd served at least 50 years at sea, or so was the telling of it. Anyway, so it's almost like a perfect dream of home. And Fiddler's Green was also a name in slang given to areas around docks where you could get a drink and a prostitute and all the other things that a sailor might have been dreaming of while succumbing to scurvy out at sea at the time. In some tellings, Fiddler's Green is also a bit of a brigadoon, which is a shorthand term from the play, a place that appears and disappears. Things that have also been said of various other islands and places over the years, Avalon, for example, or Lyonesse, and similar. But yeah, so as I said, potential financial relationship between me and the makers here. Now, it stars itself as the Peculiar Parish Magazine, and it's weird to see something created in the US tapping into something that I very much view as a part of British life, you know, because here is an actual parish magazine from my area from November. And yeah, it's associated with the church, obviously, because it's the church parish that it serves. This was during Remembrance, so you got Remembrance, you've got a guide to when the various services at the church are, you've got adverts for local businesses, you've got news about whatever has been going on, or works being done on the road, or yeah, all of that sort of thing. They show movies at the village centre occasionally, so they got information on that. You know, it's the doings of the parish council, which is like the most local form of government here in the UK. You can see the kind of thing that it is. So that's what an actual parish magazine looks like. Now, for the Fiddler's Green Peculiar Parish Magazine, it's printed in kind of the style of the old Victorian magazines, I find. I'm not sure how well this would stand up to repeated perusal. It's stapled and folded. Some of the others are a bit more perfect bound. But it contains stories and artwork and musings and so on from various people scattered around the world. Yeah, so yeah, a peculiar parish magazine. Yeah, I still get my parish magazine, and it is weird to see this, but I guess in a way we are in our own little parishes and tribes throughout the internet, dispersed and atomized. Oh, and it comes with Flexi Records, which is something I don't have the equipment to listen to, but which is kind of delightful in its own way. I felt. In this instance, I think they're using Peculiar Parish in the implications of the term rather than necessarily its direct and exact meaning, because there is a particular British meaning, right? So if I say peculiar, you'll probably think of weird or odd or different or special or rum or uncanny. But with regard to religiosity, certainly in Britain, a peculiar parish is one that is exempt from the jurisdiction of the church diocese and is directly accountable instead either to the monarch, who is the head of the Church of England, or an archbishop. So I think they mean outside of that sort of thing completely, which is kind of what it means. But yeah, so what we have here is a eclectic mob of people loosely connected through the internet and through the magazine itself, trading stories and thoughts and information, and old stories being reprinted and kept alive from the public domain, all of that sort of thing. So it's a small micro publisher offering opportunities for whimsy, flights of fancy, unself-aware pretension, story making, and sort of esoteric ideas. Like this Basilisk booklet is actually about handling anxiety and other mental health stuff through the metaphor of how you're supposed to fight the basilisk, which of course freezes you with its sight, according to mythology. Yeah, it's not that different to what my friend Rachel Haywire's salons that she ran during and after COVID did. Yeah, bringing together weird and interesting people and giving them a space to present their ideas and their thoughts and their art in a non-judgmental space, somewhere where you were allowed to be pretentious, even cringy, and it was fine, which was kind of nice and created a sense of community when we were all completely atomized. In a way, I love it, though it's not aimed directly and squarely at me. I'm a cynic and a skeptic. A magical esoterica does nothing for me, save as a sort of fictive scaffold. I'm a sort of philophile Diogenes looking for a reflection of his own humanity in the eyes of others, using a black mirror. However, reading through all of this, going through all of this, also left me with a profound feeling of ennui. These pages, these stories, these choices, the presentation made me feel inadequate to the task of creation that I try to undergo. Before I go off too far into that sort of train of thought, long and the short of it is that I recommend Fiddler's Green if you like fiction, if you like esoterica, if you're more inclined to magical thinking than I am, and you don't mind pretentiousness, then you should check out the website, buy some copies of their pamphlets and things, submit some work to the magazine. It's like a little time capsule from the 19th century heyday of Pearson's magazine, etc. But it did make me think. It made me pensive. It gave me that sense of ennui, and that sounds like a bad thing, but it isn't necessarily. The end of the year always tends to make me a bit pensive. I look back and I think about things, and this was the second year in a row that I've tried to take things easier, but I exit the year feeling even more exhausted and burnt out yet again. And then while I seem to have toiled constantly trying to make space to take time to rest, I just seem to have worked again the entire year with little or no break. And yet, looking back, it's hard to see the fruit of all the hard work that I do. Maybe that's to do with the nature of the internet, and everything we do is kind of ephemeral. Doesn't last. You have to keep making content rather than anything else, to keep people engaged, to keep people coming back to you, to give people stuff to consume. And Fiddler Screens set this train of thought for me, because I realised that I barely do anything just for fun anymore. Maybe that's just something to do with adulthood, I don't know. But, I used to get a big stack of books from the library each week or so, and then I would read the entire stack in a single sitting, pretty much. I once read The Lord of the Rings in a weekend, the whole thing, including the appendices. And now, I barely read now. I mean, for leisure. I just read for work. How I got myself to read through all of this that I was sent was by thinking of it as work, as informing myself to make a better video for you, or to keep myself informed for this future video project we might do together. But it's not just reading, right? I have to make an effort even to watch TV, or I put it on in the background without really paying attention to it as I work on something else. Yeah, I get to run RPG games weekly, but while that still has some fun that manages to pierce depression's cloak of anhedonia, I still justify it as being for the channel or getting paid, whether in monetary terms or seeing people naked terms. Yeah, I've always been self-conscious and so finely attuned to embarrassment that someone else fucking up or having a pratfall sends me into a shame spiral on their behalf. I just can't stand cringe. And taking anything seriously these days without snark, without irony, is something that is seen as cringe. And I want to take games and writing seriously as art, and I do smuggle in things that are more thoughtful in my work. I would say that's my style, smuggling in deeper ideas in things that seem very surface level. But yeah, I want to take games and writing seriously, but to take anything seriously is seen as cringe. To do anything that isn't safe or homogenous pap is to risk embarrassment, which to me is worse than death, or exile, which I've endured for over a decade now. So instead I plod along mechanically, doing work for work's sake, word after word, video after video, article after article, even the stuff I do under pen names to avoid opprobrium. What else is there? What else can I do? My love of art was destroyed by the education system. And increasingly I feel like that about writing, and I feel like that about game design. The joy has been sucked out of it. My love of games and of nerd media more generally has been mortally wounded by people's lack of ambition, lack of genuineness, the homogenization of it, the relentless commodification of it all. With art and school, it was that I was interested in illustration and manga and anime and comics before they were taken seriously. And the education system just was not set up to deal with me. Despite my best efforts, I guess I just wasn't really good enough, certainly not good enough to overcome all of those barriers. And now I feel like the kind of things that I want to do with games and writing and everything else, there's just no real way to do it. All the mediums that I used to love are dead or dying. Publishing, fewer and fewer people read, and that's as much my fault as anybody else's. Year on year, publishing has become mechanized, genericized, and it's completely female dominated these days, which isn't inherently bad, but it does mean that there's precious little space or opportunity for male oriented thoughts and publications out there. It's not through anything deliberate, I don't think. It's just a matter of taste and who is still reading books. Comics are a dying art form. If I'm honest, even 2000 AD, just which I've read since I was 3 years old, right, hasn't been as good for years, to the point where I keep my subscription and they stack up, but only very rarely do I read through them, and I find myself skipping half the stories because they're just not for me anymore, I guess. Or again, this lack of ambition, the lack of meaning beneath the surface. There's no equivalent to Nemesis the Warlock or the deeper commentary you used to get in Dread. It's just, it's not what it was. And I know it's unfair to compare run-of-the-mill stories to the great epics of the past, because you're not comparing like to like, but even so. RPGs are likely to feel a bit of a squeeze in the coming years, I feel, and have been thoroughly infected with the kind of moral busybodies of various stripes and political wings that we used to aggressively and wholeheartedly repel. Now they're in charge. Now they're running the show. Even the indie scene, you know? I'm a dinosaur, I guess. And not one of the cool ones. Maybe a hadrosaur, sadly honking through my nose horn as I sink into the tar slowly. And all of this sounds bad, I realise, but I don't regard thinking and self-reflection as necessarily bad. Okay, so I'm a dinosaur, but here and there are other dinosaurs still making things, defying the odds, shaking their fists at the meteors and the ice ages, and still trying to do something honest and pure, or to preserve things that should be preserved, that people should be exposed to. And that thought that there are others out there, like me, you know, a dying breed, will have to be enough to keep things going, and we'll have to draw strength from each other. And as a result, so yeah, I recommend this to you, and I share my depressed Friday morning thoughts with you, because I'm a sadist. Zang.
It's been called misogynistic, racist, a hate group, reactionary. It's been blamed for Trump, for keeping women out of games and technology. None of this is true. If you want the real story, then you need to buy Inside Gamergate.
Get you anything you want. just have to talk to me. Talk to me. Talk to me. Talk to me. I'm your priest. I'm your shrink. I'm your main connection to the switchboard of souls. I'm the magic man. The Santa Claus of the subconscious. You say it. You even think it. You can have it.